Welcome to our MTE Partnership Networked Improvement Community webcast, otherwise known as a NIC Cast. Today what we're talking about is building our networked improvement community basically for our purpose, for transforming secondary math teacher preparation. In case anybody here doesn't know me, I'm Wendy Smith. I'm one of the presenters. Gary Martin, Marilyn Stretchins, and Fred Uy will also be co-presenting on this one, and they'll introduce themselves as we go. As we have with our other meetings, we'll be muting you, or please mute yourself, although it's a small enough group that you can unmute to talk. You can also be typing in the chat window. We do ask that people rename themselves, and I meant to do that before we started, but I'm going to fix it now. So, you know, consider that your name badge, so you can put your pronouns on it and put your institution on it. And you can, to participate, you can physically raise your hand, and we'll be trying to watch for your video to see if you're waving at us. You can click on the little hand raise button, which is a choice if you click on participants, or you can comment in the chat box. If you're on the phone calling in, muting yourself and unmuting is *6. And if you want to raise your hand, it's *9. Okay, so what is a NIC Cast? A NIC Cast is a Networked Improvement Community webcast or webinar that is a monthly webinar, but not just a webinar of talking, but of a talking head, but more of an interactive meeting of a Networked Improvement community as a way to continue to share ideas and lessons learned and to build our community. It's a way of checking in every month so that we're not just seeing each other every June, either virtually or in person. So for this year, the goal is to build familiarity with aspects of the networked improvement community change and research process. Specifically, our goal for August, September, and October is going to be helping all the program NICs and teams complete your application to join MTEP 2.0 so you can be part of the grant application. But we'll continue throughout the rest of the year with supporting the change process. And our other goal is really building community and that shared vision, both with your local program NIC and across the MTEP community. We know that all of your local program NICs are having regular meetings at this point, but these monthly meetings will give us a chance to talk across partnerships. Today, we're going to mostly be doing random groups, so you will probably not be with other people from your own partnership team, but in some sense, that helps it be richer so you can come back to your local team and share what you've learned from multiple breakout groups. So you may or may not be with people from your local team today, but in general, don't expect that that will happen, because these purpose will be to help share across projects. So specifically today, we're going to narrow in on talking again about the membership of your program NIC, how to structure effective partnerships, and how to engage your members. And then the more of today, we will be talking about this PDSA cycle, since one of the things for your October 15th application to MTEP 2.0 is a completed PDSA cycle. So we'll be talking about that in more depth and having conversations. And now I'm going to turn it over to Gary.
To Fred.
Or to Fred, sorry. Turn it over to Fred.
Thank you very much, Wendy, okay, and Gary. My name is Fred Uy. For those of you who are not familiar with me, I am from California State University Office of the Chancellor, where I serve as one of the directors in the educator preparation and public school programs there. But formerly, I was a professor at Cal State LA, one of the campuses there, right, where I was there for 20 years before moving to the Chancellor's office. So anyway, and we've been part of MTEP as a system for quite some time now. So nice to meet all of you. So anyway, so we're here to talk about the membership of your team. So basically, it is very important that we have a strong team in place to make a progress as a NIC, okay? And who should be in your NIC team? Most likely, these are some of the ideas that we have coming from the MTEP 2020 conference, is that in the higher education, you should have math teacher educators, and you should have mathematicians, both math and mathematics education researchers, and math faculty also. Other education faculty, okay? Those who are supervising, the university clinical supervisors, grad students, okay? We have many occasions in the previous conferences that we have present and attend. So they are essential part of your NIC team. Okay. We also would want to have higher education administration, those who are program coordinators, department chairs, associate deans, directors, and they should come from both colleges of education, liberal arts and sciences, and occasionally we had some that might come from the College of Engineering, the computer science. Okay. In other offices, those who are in the advisement office, in the recruitment office, placement, certification office, these are people who are crucial to make sure that you follow the path for your getting the teacher license in mathematics. Next slide, please. Okay. And of course, this wouldn't come to fruition without your K-12 partners. They are very important here. You need to have your math teachers or coaches. School administration, it could be the principal, the assistant principal for instruction, okay? And then you have the district administrators, the superintendent, assistant superintendent, the math coordinator, math specialist, okay? Instructional services, depending on how they are identified. And you also need to have the state administrators, the LEAs there, the ones that are responsible for doing the curriculum, the math coordinator of that unit. And other offices in the state or in the K-12 system. You have the recruitment also, the induction people, okay, particularly for those going on phase 2 of their license or their credential, certification folks, placement, and professional development people for lifelong learners. Okay. Next slide. And who else may be included? Okay, community college faculty member. Some programs, including us in the CSU, California State University, we have the streamlined path that will start from community college to the four-year institution, okay? And sometimes it's even extended down to K-12. So the path is drawn from middle school all the way up to higher ed. Representatives from surrounding colleges and universities, professional organizations, both national and local, okay. Community groups, okay. Politicians with an interest in education, and we have quite a number of those. Okay, so now's the time for them to serve. Okay, school board members, district or state would be good. Okay, sometimes there are local school boards also. And those students who are enrolled in the program or a recent completer. Okay? And this is particularly true for us because in the Strides NIC rack that I am part of, this is what we are looking for. We are concentrating on recent completers of the program. Okay, next slide. Okay, and I think that's for you, Gary, now. Okay, so take it away, Gary.
Yes, here I am. So this is a lot of people, and certainly not everyone has everyone on their team, and every context is different. So those slides were basically a union of every idea that people had at the 2020 conference. So how do you talk people into becoming a part of what you're doing? Of course, having a personal connection helps. We've seen that again and again, is, you know, who knows who and who can reach out to whom makes a big difference. I think the other thing is having a strong value proposition of why do you want to do that? Yes, click on that, please. In fact, we provided an FAQ that kind of gives some general information about MTEP 2.0, and questions 2 and 3, I think, are helpful. 2 is, why do you want to have a program at all? And then number 3 is, why would someone want to be a part of your program, NIC? And it just kind of runs through some of the rationales that you might use. I know one of the members of the Central Alabama team copied and pasted some of these ideas into an email and was successful in recruiting both people that she tried for. Okay, then we can go back, please, to the next slide. So I think one thing, when you look at some of these folks, you're not going to get a state legislator participating on weekly meetings. It's just not going to happen. So you might really want to think about having differentiated roles and responsibilities. So there may be a smaller group that meets very regularly, you know, every couple weeks or whatever works for you. And that's the really sold-in team that's going to keep everything moving. Other people may have an involvement that's more focused on a particular part of the work. So maybe a K-12 person who's interested in the clinical experiences, but they may not be as interested in other parts of the work. So you might loop them in kind of on specific topics where they're interested. Others, like those legislators, you're not going to get their attention, but you know, every couple months, maybe once a quarter. So they may have more of an advisory role where they're going to provide useful insights and feedback, but they're not going to be as engaged on a basic level. Having some sort of a sense of what you're asking them to do, as well as why you're asking them to be involved, could really make it easier for someone to commit. Someone may not be willing to commit to the bi-weekly meetings, but meeting once a quarter, sure, I can do that. Okay, next slide. So now we're going to move you into breakout groups and just talk with others in your group about who have you been able to recruit, what has worked for you, who are you still working to recruit, and what ideas have you had about differentiating roles. And again, we're going to be moving into groups. You may not necessarily be with other members of your NIC. And yes, and Stephanie just dropped a link to the slides. So you can open that if you want to go back and look at some of the previous slides, that might be helpful. Okay, so let's go. And we're going to have, how long did we decide? About 10 minutes?
We'll have 9 minutes and a 1-minute countdown to return.
Perfect.
Okay, so those rooms are ready and we'll open now. Okay, Barbara, I need to get you to a room.
Thank you.
Okay, that should work now.
We're going to do this really quickly because I think we're running just a little late. But in the chat window, just add in if there's any insight that you gain from the discussion. Just take a minute to do that, and then we'll take a look at those and then move on to PDSA cycles, which I think a lot of people are excited about. Okay, a couple comments about keeping people informed and figuring about the roles for participation. Leadership changes. I think this is one thing that we didn't really have time to go into, but I think this is a constant reality, is the cast of characters keeps changing. So you have a key leader in a district or in the dean's office, and then they leave. And then how do you keep re-energizing the group? That takes constant attention. Membership is not one and done. It goes on and on. Okay, some other good things coming through. Selling ideas and buying is not easy. True. All right. Add any additional thoughts and let's go on because we want to have plenty of time for the PDSA work. Thanks everyone for sharing in that session.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are revisiting Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles. Next. And so today we've talked about members of our team, and then we really want a variety of members on our team to really help us develop our theory of change. And so our driver diagram makes our theories of change explicit. So we're using discipline inquiry, and then in our driver's diagram, we have what specifically we are trying to change or accomplish, and then what change might we introduce and why are our change ideas, and then how will we know that a change is actually an improvement, or our measures. Can you press the enter? And then one more time. And then the Plan, Do, Study cycle helps you to learn about your theory through testing. And then a Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle is a shorthand for testing a change by planning it, trying it, observing the results, and acting on what is learned. And so Plan, Do, Study, Act. Next. So what we wanted to do today was just share with you some tips for conducting a Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle. For most of our contexts, it is better to start with small, rapid tests of change and then expand the initiative out as the improvement team learns. And so when we talk about small cycles, it's something that we can do a change. It should be minimally intrusive so that we can see the change occurring and how it's impacting the phenomenon, but not make a big deal about what it is we're trying to see happen. Like really just focus, tell people what it is we're trying to do so that it becomes something that everyone is focused on versus a natural environment where the improvement can take place. And then also develop empirical evidence at every step to guide subsequent improvement cycles. And that's why we want to use smaller cycles so that we can see the evidence of the change that has been made. If we have long durations where we can't really tell what actually made the improvement happen, then it defeats the purpose of improvement science. So we want to use Plan, Do, Study, Act cycles that are small and manageable and where we can actually observe the change. Okay, next slide. And then, so now we're actually gonna move you into your breakout sessions to examine the following PDSA cycle that one of our teams created during our MTEP virtual conference. And so what we want you to do is just kind of think about what are some helpful elements of the cycle. When you look at it, what do you find as being really helpful and can really help the team move forward? And then also, what is challenging about the cycle? How could you change it to make it a better PDSA cycle? And then how would you, and then, I already said that. So next. And so here's the sample PDSA cycle. So the title of this PDSA cycle is Social Justice Activity Sequence and Secondary Methods. And the driver is be more intentional about infusing equity throughout all of our coursework and clinical experiences. And then what change ideas being tested is incorporate lessons from social justice resources in methods classes. And then what is the goal of the test? And their goal is to pilot and refine, like using a lesson study format, activities that enable prospective teachers to incorporate social justice lessons in secondary methods courses. And the duration of their test is fall semester. Next, I'm so used to pressing my own buttons. So the sample PDSA cycle continued. Here we see their questions, their predictions for each of the questions, and then how they will collect data to test their predictions. And so what we would like for you to do is to really think about their whole plan, do, study cycle, what their driver is that they're working on, what change idea they're trying to change. Look at their questions, look at their predictions, and then look at how they will collect data. Think about every element of their PDSA cycle and how you might, how it might inform your work, as well as how you might inform them about their PDSA cycle. Next slide. So in your breakout groups, again, we want you to think about what are some helpful elements of the PDSA cycle, what is challenging about the PDSA cycle, and then how would you change the PDSA cycle so that it would better serve improvement purposes. And so now we're going to go into your breakout groups. And again, you will not be with every member of your team. You will be with a variety of members from different teams.
And the link to the PowerPoint again, or the slide deck, is in the chat. So if you want to go back and look at the cycle more closely.
Okay, we are ready for those breakout rooms. Since we're running a little bit short on time, do you want to lessen to 15 minutes or 12?
Yeah, let's go with 14. 14 and 1.
Got it. Okay. All right, we're ready to go.
Chat, what is a key insight you gained from the discussion? And then for your own benefits, to take notes of how you will revise your NIC's PDSA cycle as a result of conducting this task or completing this task. You see, smaller cycles are needed, but that also requires thinking about the data collected on a smaller scale. Moving to Excel for documenting, using the Excel spreadsheets. Start small and focus tasks that takes less than 2 weeks to get data to inform next steps. Think small with incremental PDSA cycles toward the goal. Good. And also really reflecting on the improvement, gathering useful data, which may not be rigorous like a short survey. Okay. That was one of the things we talked in our group, is defining data within this context. And then decided what data needs to be collected. Start with smaller cycles toward the completion of the bigger picture. And then a key insight affirmation is the power of modeling expectations, communication, and participation. Thank you, MTEP facilitators today. Thank you, Jamie. So other thoughts? Thank you all. I hope this helped you in thinking about your team's PDSA cycles, and then how you can build off of each PDSA cycle and stay ahead by thinking about how one cycle can impact the other cycle. So thank you again for your attention today. So now we're going to the wrap up. So is this me? So also add to the chat, what questions do you have about MTEP 2.0 partnership teams, PDSA cycles? What would you like to learn more about?
This is your chance to help us plan the next NIC Cast.
And then there were some other things added related to the PDSA cycle. Break cycle into smaller cycles and collecting data. Use plan, do, study, act cycle. Structure to refine what will be done and data collected. Then results. Now I missed the rest. Data collection and its impact on the PDSA cycle. Which type of metrics can be used? And then educating partners about the impact of mentor teachers on development and early career math teachers. And then we also want to bring your attention, there will be a brief evaluation survey sent via email following today's NIC Cast. Please help improve the MTEP 2.0 future activities by taking a few minutes to complete the survey. Thank you, and this is from John Sutton, our evaluator. Gary, did you want to finish up?
I think it's supposed to be Wendy.
Or Wendy?
Okay, and I also see Barbara has a question in terms of, as a new team, you know, how to be part of MTEP 2.0. And I think that being part of the grant teams at any stage, because everybody still has an aim and a driver diagram and is doing PDSA cycles, and it will benefit the research of the grant, and I think make a stronger case to NSF if teams are at different places, you know, some near the beginning, some already underway, some, you know, farther along. And so basically the application to join is essentially the 5 pieces, the 5 exercises that we did from the end of June with, you know, refinements. We know that the time given in those couple days in June was not enough to refine a driver diagram. So, you know, refining the driver diagram, refining your aim, adding on to who else is part of your partnership, getting letters from the partnership who are agreeing to be part of it, and then completing a PDSA cycle, which can be quite small. And so those are the, you know, the pieces are pieces that you've already drafted. And so the idea of just, you know, moving ahead, and we're delighted to have teams who are at any stage of the transformation process.
Thank you.
In fact, that's the next slide, I think, Wendy. Is it?
I jumped ahead in the slides so that we did want to, because I saw John had put as a note, because we're operating under current NSF funding, we do have a short evaluation that we hope you will fill out. It's not there yet, but it will hit your email soon. And our next NIC Cast, we're going to try for the first Wednesday of at least September and October. That will give us 2 more times to meet before the October 15th. But as we said, we will continue to meet throughout the school year to be continuing to have conversations. And then we had put a couple slides in here that were more resource slides. Is there a specific one you want me to go back to, Gary?
Oh, I don't know. I just knew there was a slide that went through the process again. And and the book, the new book.
Yeah. So yeah, your MTEP 2.0 will have, you know, the organization of your NIC with its team members, your root cause analysis and driver diagram, a PDSA cycle, and a commitment to data collection, basically. And you have these slides, and this is not different than what we had talked about before. And then we wanted to draw your attention, let me do this out of order. We wanted to draw your attention that we've been saying, you know, as resources, we have our Math Teacher Education Partnership book, there's the Learning to Improve, and then Tony Breik super recently came out with a new book after Learning to Improve called Improvement in Action. This is brand new. None of us have actually read this book yet. I've ordered mine. So we can't entirely say that this is going to be great, but we think it's probably worth looking at. So this could be a future, one of our NIC casts could be to have kind of some summary and reading little excerpts and discussing parts of this new book.
The website says it's an excellent companion to Learning to Improve.
Yeah, we'll see. And then, you know, as a team, you can reach out to the coach that you were assigned. There's still the Q&A on equity and social justice in Open Canvas. You can still post questions there. We'll continue to have these NIC casts. And you can also be reaching out to the research action clusters, especially if we're thinking about, I saw one comment in the chat about mentor teachers. And so working with the clinical experiences rack, who've been thinking a lot about mentor teachers. We've got lots of material there. And I see Maria from FIU, we will follow up with you and make sure you get connected with your coach.
And can I just add to that? There's a lot of stuff on Open Canvas. If you just go to the home page, there's a lot of stuff, information on the application process, different things that if you need to go back and review things, all the presentations from the conference are posted there, and we'll post this NIC cast there as well. So Open Canvas has a lot of stuff there that might be useful.
Yeah, this is Marilyn. I've been contacting Maria Fernandez and Cynthia Alfalt and Halt from for FIU. So they need to contact you to let you know that I've been contacting them. Are you the lead person?
Maria Fernandez is.
Okay, I've been contacting her.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I was just trying to write that in the chat, but it didn't go through.
Okay.
I was trying to tell her in the chat that you were our coach
Thank you.
from the conference.
Yeah, well, we see our hour is up. We want to be respectful of everyone's time, especially during these uncertain times. So thank you for joining us, and please complete the conference evaluate or the webinar evaluation for this NIC cast when you get it in your email. And we look forward to talking to you again next month.